Welcome, everyone. I'm Roger Graebner, Director of Marketing for INLX, and I want to thank everyone excited to be able to share some exciting new enhancements available in the K12Docs system that will make your processes more efficient and enable you to work smarter with your time. Back in the fall of last year, we held a webinar very similar to this. We had such a great response and heard from so many districts that couldn't attend, so we decided to do a repeat. We're anxious to share and show you these new features, including some that will eliminate the manual, sometimes frustrating steps of getting documents into the K12Docs system. Before we jump in, there are just a few housekeeping items that I'd like to review with you. First of all, we're keeping everyone on mute to minimize any outside noise, but we do want to hear your thoughts and questions. So should you see something that catches your interest or you have a question about, you should see the chat feature. Please submit your comments or questions anytime throughout the session. We'll answer those at the end during our Q&A session. Depending on the number of questions and the time that we have remaining, we may not get to them all. But don't worry, if you submitted something in the chat, we will be compiling all questions and answers in a document that everyone who registered will receive after today's meeting. Along with the FAQs, you'll also get a link to the recording to share with anyone else in your district that wasn't able to attend today's session. Plus, there will be contact information so you can reach out directly to any of today's presenters. On to today's topics. In a second, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Ryan Combs, who's our Director of Partnership Development at INLX. Ryan will talk about the history of the relationship between Software Unlimited and INLX and what brought us all together today. Then we're going to jump into the new K12Docs features and introduce the star of today's show, Intelligent Document Processing. We'll explain what that term means and show you what it can do for your district. Then we'll get into even more features that can make your AP processing more automated, more integrated, and give you back the gift of time. But wait, there's more. For districts that are ready to take advantage of these new features, we'll announce a winter promotion that's currently available to sweeten the pot. And finally, as I said before, we're going to wrap up with a Q&A session. And with that, I'd like to introduce Ryan Combs to talk to us about the INLX and Software Unlimited partnership.
Hi, good morning. Thanks, Roger. Appreciate everybody joining here today. Happy you're able to join us here today. So a quick backstory on who INLX is, because I'm sure for a lot of folks, this is the first time you're hearing the name INLX. So a little bit of a holistic backstory on the partnership that INLX and SUI has. So back in 2015, 2016, Corey Atkinson and the SUI team knew that they needed to add a document repository to their school accounting system. They went through the back and forth of, do we build or do we partner with an already established document management provider? Corey and the team spent multiple years researching companies, found and selected INLX to partner with due to our presence in the public sector, K-12, higher ed, local government, law enforcement, along with all the other services we offer, such as scanning, film conversion, record storage, etc., that they felt would be valuable to their customer base. We worked with SUI, specifically customized our solution for the SUI customer needs, integrated it into the school accounting system, and called it what you guys all know today, which is K12Docs. And that's really how we're here today. INLX has been behind the scenes in the past, but with Corey and SUI's blessing, we are now more active in discussions with districts, especially when it comes to what we're talking about today, which is the Intelligent Document Processing, or IDP. We've continued to strengthen the relationship with SUI with the rollout of IDP, with around 20% of K12Docs customers that have started using the tool since the October release. That scales from districts as small as 90 students to districts with 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 students. So today I'm excited to introduce our panel members here today. and they can dive into a little more of the granularity of what IDP is and how it's helped over 20% of the K12Docs districts streamline their invoices, HR documents, etc. So I will pass it over to Will.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. All right. Let's dive into some of the newer features. Very good. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm sure many of you you're familiar with how K12Docs works, and it's made your life easier with finding documents, especially during audits. Today, I'm going to break it into 3 exciting new features for K12Docs. The first being the intelligent document capture. We'll discuss that on the next slide. The second new feature is workflow that can be assigned to incoming documents. And then the third is the ability to upload invoice data into SUI accounts payable instead of manually keying it in. Candace will be diving into the last 2 features in just a few minutes. All right, Roger, there we go. Thank you. So what is intelligent document processing, and really what will it do for you? It adds AI and machine learning technology to K12Docs, which reduces the time spent scanning, indexing, and filing. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And this isn't replacing the need for a person to be involved in AP. That's still very important. This is simply providing you or your staff with easy to use tools in K12Docs to make your jobs easier. Today's presentation will be focused on automating invoices, and we'll reference a district that's using this in a little bit. But what I'd like you to keep in mind is that you're still going to access the records and the invoices within SUI or K12Docs in the exact same way you are today. This intelligent document capture is simply, it's streamlining the steps that you're going through that are time consuming. And you'll be the best file clerk ever. All right, Roger? Okay, so let's spend just a moment talking about how it all works. On the left side, you'll see as Roger advances and clicks, that you'll see, the invoices come in from a variety of different sources. So you'll see, from a business, from a school building. So you're experiencing that today. You're likely scanning your invoices one by one, and you're keying that data into SUI, and then you're manually uploading the invoice. That's how most districts are operating. So if you think of that at scale, that takes many districts days to complete every month. So we're going to streamline the process by having this centralized inbox that you see in the middle of the screen. And, so if your district already has like an AP email, that's great. If not, we'd recommend you potentially start using one, and you have vendors email that inbox that you see in the middle. And so when Roger clicks again, you'll see that it adds the magic wand. And so once invoices make it to the inbox, and that's when our AI gets to work, and it identifies the invoice, and it's going to put it into a queue for you to review. And we'd be happy to show you how that works at a later point if we do a demonstration. And then lastly, scanning paper invoices is going to be much easier as well. So for the invoices you receive in the mail, you can put them all in the scanner, all in a batch, and send that batch file into the inbox. All right, so let's take a look at what a sample invoice going through the system, what it looks like, and what it's looking for. So you can see this is going to highlight some fields on the page, things like invoice number, invoice date, terms. So this is what's happening during the extraction process. The system's using machine learning to do this correctly. Our staff at INLX uses your actual invoices to train the system. And Candace will discuss with you shortly what happens after this step. But before we get there, let's move to Carrie Kusher from Independence. They were an early adopter of the intelligent document capture a few years ago. And what Carrie did is when she took into account all of the steps involved in processing an invoice, it's reduced the time that she spent by 80% compared to her process beforehand. It's also reduced typing errors and processing duplicate payments. So the time saving's been huge, and it's allowed her to focus on other bigger projects. Next slide. Okay. And then lastly, this quote that you see from Janet at Independence came from a recent case study we did. And so she's the director of finance, works alongside Carrie. Under Janet's leadership, the district deployed this solution, but they did it in phases, which was the best fit for their district. And they were already seeing a return on investment really only after implementing 1/3 of the system. And then they added workflow and started then lastly importing the data into SUI and batch and saving even more time. And all right, so I'm going to now hand this off to Candace, and she's going to talk to you about workflow and alerts.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Will. Now that we've covered some context, let's shift into how K12Docs keeps invoices moving through those workflow and alerts that Will referenced. Next slide, Roger. So I'm going to pick up the conversation at the point where invoices have already entered the system. So at this stage, all invoices have either been scanned and uploaded into K12Docs, those paper invoices, or sent directly to that AP email address that was referenced previously by Will. What's important to note here is that K12Docs includes a built-in inbox. Whether or not you've seen that, you can see that at the top of this image, the inbox. It's kind of faint. But this is the central hub where all your incoming invoices, again, whether emailed electronically or those paper invoices that were scanned, are received and then routed through your approval workflow. And you can see circled, every invoice begins at this assignment stage. From here, the AP clerk can quickly review the invoice and make an initial determination. So they can either mark the invoice as ready for SU, or they can route that invoice to another staff member for review or approval. This obviously ensures that nothing slips through the cracks and the invoices are consistently reviewed before moving further along in the process. Next slide, Roger. Once an invoice has landed in that assignment queue, the next step is reviewing the data and determining the appropriate approval path. On the left side of this slide, you'll see an image that highlights several of the key attributes or data points that are automatically captured by the system. And we'll cover this previously in that capture piece. So this includes, like he mentioned, but isn't limited to, information like vendor name, invoice number, invoice date, and total amount. Once that data is captured, the AP clerk can quickly review it, make any necessary corrections, and fill in any missing data fields. And after that review is complete, you'll see on the right side of the slide that the user has a couple of clear next steps. At this point, the invoice can be marked again as ready for SU, or it can be routed to another individual for approval. And that approval, by the way, the routing can be configured based on what works best for your individual district, whether it's by department, by role, or by monetary threshold. And one thing that we've consistently heard, and I believe we heard it from Independence as well, the district's already using that workflow in K12Docs, is how valuable that approval trail becomes during audits. Because every action taken on an invoice is tracked, time-stamped, and documented, giving you a clear, defensible record of who approved what and when. You can kind of see it here on the image on the right. Level 1 was reviewed and approved, level 2 reviewed and approved, and it gives you the approver as well as the date and timestamp. It's also important to note, I think we'll reference this as well, And I just had a kickoff call with a district in Iowa that is going to kind of do this in a phased approach. But some districts choose not to implement the workflow component initially, either because it just isn't a need currently, or because they prefer to roll it out maybe later after they've had time to become familiar with the overall intelligent document processing features, which again is what Independence did. Next slide, Roger. And now that we reviewed how the invoices move through approvals, let's take a step back and look at how you can see the status of everything in one place. So back in your inbox view, like you can see here, you can immediately see the total number of invoices at each stage of the workflow. In this example, you'll notice that 31 invoices are currently marked as ready for SU. And this view gives the primary user and anyone else with the appropriate permissions a real-time snapshot of where every invoice is within the approval process. So now there's no guessing, there's no chasing down approvals, and no relying on emails or spreadsheets to track the status of your invoices. Next slide. Once invoices have moved through the approvals, the final step, again, we'll reference this, is getting that data quickly and easily into SU. Slide 19. Another thing we've heard from many of you during our calls in those districts that have already had kickoffs is that manual entering of data into SU has traditionally been one of the most time-consuming steps. But with intelligent document processing, that manual effort now is going to be significantly reduced. And as shown here, invoice data can now be captured directly within K12Docs and exported with a single click. You'll notice on the slide, all key invoice fields are automatically extracted. It just shows 2 invoices here, but you'll notice some of those key data points that are kind of showing on the right side. That's all available for export by selecting the blue export button shown at the bottom. Next slide. Once that data is exported, it's delivered in an Excel file where, again, it can be reviewed, validated, or further adjusted as needed before moving on to the next step, which is that SU import. Next slide. So when your Excel file's ready, again, we've heard from a few people that they didn't even know this was an option, this import feature in SU, but it can be imported directly into the system using this standard import feature as shown here. But after the import, the transactions are immediately available in SU for review or edits. And as long as the vendor ID, invoice number, and invoice date remain unchanged, the imaged invoice will automatically link to the corresponding transaction in your system without any additional steps. And this, of course, kind of eliminates that repetitive data entry. It reduces the chance of errors. And of course, the bigger thing is saves your team a significant amount of time. Next slide. I think that brings us to kind of the end of the meaty content of our webinar. So we've looked at how the IDP, or intelligent document processing, can drive efficiency across your workflow. So let's look at how we've made the solution both accessible and cost-effective for districts, especially with the promotion that you see on my screen. This is for the first 15 districts who sign up. And I think Ryan mentioned it earlier in the beginning, but it kind of flew like hotcakes. How many, Ryan, did we have signed up within just a couple months?
20%, which was around 35 or 40 districts since October.
Right. Yeah. So if you're interested, we're going to show you on the next couple slides later how you can get in touch with us. This discount applies to your setup fee, which is $2,500 for any size district. So the first 5 to sign up will get 50% off that setup fee. The next 5 would get 25% off. And then if you're kind of in the later group, still a great incentive, you'll get 10% off that setup fee. Next slide. So at this point, we're going to pause and open things up for questions. If you do have a question that you'd like to ask, please feel free to share now. Do we have any questions that have come in?
Not seeing any yet.
Okay, and that's fine. Again, you can, reach out to us and we can schedule a call. But if there are no questions, we've also prepared a Q&A resource that we'll share along with these other materials, but it covers some of the most common questions we receive, a few of which we'll kind of talk through briefly. So let's take a look at those. Obviously, what is the cost of K12Docs with intelligent document processing? It is tiered. There's an annual fee. It is based on your student population count. So schedule a call with us. We can go through what your exact pricing would be. That one-time setup we just mentioned is $2,500, but would be discounted if you're within the first 15 districts to sign up. Will, do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, sure.
right.
Commonly get asked, how long it takes to get this operational. And I'd say the average is about 45 to 60 days at the longest. Most of that time is spent by our team using the technology that gets built into K12Docs to learn your documents. So there's a learning phase. But generally speaking, the effort and training needed by your team is really minimal, because you're already using SUI, you're already using K12Docs. It's just a little bit different way of getting the documents digitized and into the system. So, and then I'll do one more.
Okay.
We're commonly asked if that can older documents that are sitting in the filing cabinets, can those be digitized and can this help and make that quicker? And yes, the short answer is yes. You can certainly use this to get those older documents that need to be scanned as a way to streamline that process, getting them digitized faster, indexed quicker, and filed away.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take another question here. We get asked quite a bit. Can we scan a mixed batch of paper invoices all together and have them automatically uploaded into K12Docs? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. This is one of the biggest time savings that we've heard that, districts who are using this already have said it saved a ton of time. And so that allows you to just take a big stack of invoices, scan them and upload them. The system will recognize the different invoices because, like Will just mentioned in the implementation, we'll train the engine on what to look for each individual invoice. And then it'll separate them into individual invoices, which are then automatically indexed and filed within K12Docs appropriately. So you all won't have to do any individual scanning, individual uploading, or individual indexing. This will all be done for you. Huge time savings. Will, any other questions?
There have any questions?
Mm-hmm.
Must be some.
No? Okay. If there are no additional questions, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, all attendees will receive the recording of today's webinar along with any materials referenced during the session. So please feel free to share that information with your counterparts. And we hope today's discussion demonstrated how intelligent document processing, or IDP, can help districts achieve greater efficiency, improved visibility, and reduced audit risk within the AP process, and hopefully allowing staff, the biggest thing, to focus on higher value work rather than manual tasks. So, and if you're interested in exploring how this could work within your own district, we invite you to schedule a follow-up conversation using the QR code on the screen or by reaching out to Will or myself.